Look.
What's that, our topic, the dog?
Yeah, Matzo wants attention
Here
today.
comes
Say
Samaj,
hi,
looking in.
Matzo. Look, say hi to everybody. Say hi. Say hi.
Oh, let's
Look.
say hi to everyone.
Step in here, Gianna. Let everybody see. Oh, he wants attention
I just
too.
wanted to show your outfit.
There's baby Israel. Look, a baby Israel.
Donnie got us this outfit just like that, but
Your
tiny.
daddy gave you the wrong middle name.
He saw
If
himself.
we were Catholic and did the confirmation, I'd make a Joseph.
There you go, but you didn't have to, right? Well, Martino's a saint, isn't it? Is there a saint by name of Martina?
Mm-hmm.
What's he a saint of?
Right?
Do you
I
know?
could find out. There's so many of them.
Yeah. Anyway, look at Maz. You're so funny.
She's obsessed with you.
You're obsessed with you.
Maybe
with
because of
you
your
today.
polka dot funeral
Yeah,
tie.
must be. Here he comes.
I know
Let me-
that's your.
let me
You
put
only
this
wear
thing on
that
it.
tie to funerals.
Yeah, and you know it's Samaj's grandfather's. You knew that, right?
I did know that. I did.
Samaj, you're a minute late.
Late like always. Late Samaj.
That's
How you
because
doing,
he
Samaj?
runs on
They're already
a
live.
different time. I won't say.
Look, but he comes with food. So he had time to stop and get food.
You can't eat while you're on
I don't even have
live
any
here.
food in my mouth.
But who said it was in your mouth? I said you came in with it in your hands, which means you had time
PB said I
to
couldn't
stop
eat on live.
and get food, but we're late. All right.
Huh?
Unbelievable.
You believe that?
He came in late.
No, he.
Oh, there
He had to get
Sorry,
ready.
guys. We'll be on in a minute. Share with me here.
Man, the wind is whipping outside today.
All right.
Hey, so what is our topic about today? Why the clowns are clowning around?
We have the best topic. Look, it's a quote by Martin Luther King Jr., right? There comes a time when silence is betrayal.
That's a good topic.
That is such a powerful quote.
Well, what was the catalyst for this topic, though?
Well, catalyst, what's that mean?
the reason.
It's the
What
inspiration,
provoked it,
right?
yeah.
No, it's actually when certain things come together, it's a chemical term.
Okay.
Scientific term. But yeah, what was the combination of this of our past Sunday when is that I have to mute this. When Rita Reyes was our featured guest for about 3 minutes, maybe max, right? Mm-hmm. And she runs Choices of the Heart, and she talked about how they, what'd she say? They have, they're going to investigate their whole organization. They want to like shut them
Oh,
down.
yeah, the FBI called me.
Yeah, right. And when I saw this quote, I thought, you know why we're here where we are? Because too many pastors, too many individual Christians remain silent when we need to speak up. And we're silent, which is a betrayal to our Savior and to the cause of Christianity. You know, the moral condition of America and how the church has failed is because we remain silent. I'm sorry, but
No, I agree.
you know how that is.
No, I agree. And the problem is, if you speak up, you're the bad guy and you get bombarded and berated. But if the other side speaks up, nobody says a thing.
No, I know. No, in fact, they're allowed to speak up. They're allowed to destroy. They're allowed to, just look what they did when they ruined all those inner cities. And nobody said a word. But God forbid that the other view, a.k.a.,
Right.
should say something.
Yeah,
right?
well, look how they bombarded the cafeteria at the White House. Why isn't anybody calling that an insurrection?
Right.
You know?
What do you
Anyway, welcome to Hijack Life Live, where we believe that God rescues the dreams that have been shattered by the cruelties and injustices of life.
Before we start, PB, someone commented on Instagram and said, "Well, what do we speak on? Without casting judgment."
Truth.
Yeah.
It's a great question.
No, it is a great question. And I believe we should answer that today. And if we don't, we'll come back to
Isn't
it.
it just truth?
Yeah, but right. And how we present truth determines whether it's hopefully palatable or not.
Right.
But we still have to speak truth. Like I remember Dr. Jack Kyle said, it's better to do wrong rightly than to do right wrongly.
That's well spoken. All right, let's go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vaughn said that pastor's tie is dope.
Yeah, well,
wonder where he got it from.
I got it from Samaj's grandfather.
That's right. I remember that.
You remember that?
I do.
If we have some time, I'll go back to the history, the story of how I got this.
All right, okay.
But anyway, so what comes to your mind when you hear the word silence?
What comes in my mind?
Yeah.
When I bite my tongue when all these trolls on the internet write stuff that's just stupid.
Okay. What about you?
Silence is it's very simple. I just don't say anything when I really want to say something.
No, but what comes to your mind when you hear the word silence? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I just think silence is, I mean, it could be a good or a bad thing. But I think, in our case right now, when I think of silence, I think of just being quiet when I really want to say something.
So in a sense,
Same thing I said, basically.
that's what Martin Luther King said. There's a time when silence is betrayal. So
Yes.
does it bother you that you didn't speak up?
If I think of different things in my life, yeah. I do regret certain times where I didn't speak up about something.
All right. Hey, those of you watching today, you can respond. What comes to your mind when you hear the word silence? Brigade's here with us. Come on in here for a second, Brigade. So your dad,
I can't wait to hear
somebody
this.
gave your dad and mom this statue of your dad,
Paula and Mackenzie.
Paula and Mackenzie, and actually, the statue looks like you.
It's all right. We can
That
say
looks
it's
like,
me. It's
that looks
fine.
like Brigade. Doesn't look like Martino. But anyway, so what comes to your mind when you hear the word
Well, it
silence?
depends on. In this aspect, would be different if you asked me, like, if we're just getting a bite to eat, and you're like, what do you think of when you say the word silence? Because I would think of, like, going to bed, it's peaceful, you're just quiet.
Oh, no, that's
silence,
good.
you know what I mean? But there is times where you're silent because you're trying to protect yourself, but you really do want to say something.
Yeah.
So I guess it can go both ways.
So I like what you said. So silence to you really is a time of peace, calm, relaxation.
Yeah, that's
It's
like
like-
you're not involving
it's a
any
chill
other
out.
people. Yeah.
Well, like I'll give a perfect example. Like, I did a Sweet 16 a couple months ago, and Maddie was one of Maddie's friends, and they booked me to do the party. And Maddie had asked me after the party, Najee, what side are you on? Are you on Israel's side or are you on Palestine's side?
Oh, wow.
In the right after the party.
Oh,
And I looked
wow.
at Maddie. I'm like, Maddie, like right now?
Wow.
Like, and I didn't want to say anything, but I'm like, I'm not going to hold my tongue when it comes to my sister. So I said Israel. And the Sweet 16 girl, her older sister, was like my age, got like super offended and was like, "This is the problem with Christians now." Like it was a whole like situation at the end of the party that I got roped into. But
That's a hard question to be
and it
asked.
is a hard question to be asked. And I was like, Maddie, like right now, really? Like, but I answered it, and it caused like an uproar. And I was like, this is why I don't even speak. This is why.
Yeah,
I
and so to my answer, 9 out of 9.5 times, I will not respond to some stupid comment. But for example, this last week, as
Yeah.
you know, some crazy person started writing all this stuff. I did not respond until she started attacking my wife. She started attacking you. Had I stayed silent, it would have been a betrayal.
Yeah,
Perfect time for this.
Yeah, I agree.
it is.
And Brigade too.
Yeah.
and also like, but like what Uncle Marty said, I typically, and this is just my own convictions, but like I'll stay silent. But when you start taking personal jabs at people that I know, my life and all that, then I have to.
Well,
speak up.
Pastor told me something. He said it's if you make a post, on your private page, not private, on your page, and it's your prerogative. If someone wants to attack the subject and debate the subject, it's one thing. But when they go out of that arena and start attacking your character,
Then we have a
it was
problem.
well said when you
Yeah,
said that.
right. Yeah, that's one thing. That's the way I always look at it. When somebody starts to, and usually that happens when they're losing their argument. You know that. So
Wow,
then they
that's
revert.
right.
They revert to slander.
Yeah,
In
that's-
other words, I can't win, so I'm going to call you all kinds of names.
Man,
I'm serious.
that's really
That's-
that's exactly
I don't
what.
know.
It's like saying a bystander is just as bad as the bully.
Yeah. But and I said to Martin, I said, you know what? I let him. I leave it on because I just love to create the discussion, and I think that's one of the beauties of Facebook is it really does create discussion. But when then they get mad and they start calling you names, and calling everybody else names,
me, you,
that's when it's
him,
time to
my
take
wife.
them out.
Yeah.
Because now we're not
Oh.
talking about the issue. They're attacking your character,
Yeah.
which means what's their motive? They don't know your character. But you know theirs.
Sure do.
Yeah, because look when they were attacking you. Your brigade took care of that, right?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Only took one line.
Took one line.
So anyway, what, do we have any? I don't know what's going on.
Somebody
here,
said you did a phenomenal job at the funeral.
Ah, well, thank you. Alex's funeral, yeah. So anyway, this is what comes to my mind. Two things. One is the passage in Ecclesiastes that says there's a time to keep silent and a time to speak.
Yes.
You know, where it says there's a time
Yeah,
to
of course.
live,
To die,
and so
mourn.
forth. And the other was Simon and Garfunkel's Sounds of Silence. Have you ever played that?
I've never played that.
It's probably not. It's probably not wedding material, right?
It's not wedding or bar and bat mitzvah
But
material.
listen to it. It says this: in the naked light, I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share. No one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fools, said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words like silent raindrops fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And people bowed and prayed to the neon god that they made. And the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming. And the sign said, the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls and whispered in the sounds of silence.
What's a tenement hall?
Well, it comes out of the word tenant.
Okay.
Like a person's a tenant is someone
Right.
who lives in an apartment or
Okay.
they rent or whatever. So tenement halls means it's a rented or it's some sort of a space.
Dwelling.
That maybe is not yours.
Okay.
You know? But the line that stands out to me is relational to our subject today, and that's fools said, I do not know silence like a cancer grows. And it does. And that's what brought all this up, is that if we don't, as Christians and as churches, that's what really bothers me, is these mega churches have this platform with tens of thousands of people, and they never address our national sins.
Because they're afraid they'll lose their congregation.
Yep. And that's what it is.
Yeah, well, we're not even going to have we're going to be like a communist country. I mean, we're not even going to have a church in which we can speak truth. We'll be underground if we remain silent. And that's what brought this on. And I was just thinking about abortion. I mean, where do you think the church and Christians are going to be if we continue to remain silent?
Ooh, it's kind of scary. I mean, if you look at abortion, I mean, we have scripture that supports that in Proverbs 24:11 through 12. It says, rescue those being led away to death. Hold back those staggering towards slaughter. If you say, but we knew nothing about this, does he who weighs the heart perceive it? Does not he who guards your life know it? Will he not repay everyone according to what they have done? And even in Psalm 139:13 through 15, it says, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be.
Yeah. You know, the most disgusting sight in the world is to see a bunch of women holding up signs, crying out, protesting for the right to murder their own child.
So let's pretend I'm not a Christian for a moment.
Yeah.
If you said, if a woman is raped, if you said, it was incest, pretending again I'm not a Christian, that percentage of abortion is so small.
Yeah.
Compared to the slaughterhouse of
I don't even
Planned
think it's
Parenthood.
1%.
That's what I'm saying. Compared to so these women and men and people cling on to that, But listen, you made the choice. If you weren't raped or had incest, a man or woman, you made the choice to have intercourse unprotected or protected and something went wrong, whatever the case may be. You made the choice to have sex. You had a baby. You got pregnant. You don't have the right to take that other person's life. It's not. It's you. You have a right to your own life, but not the life that's being formed inside of you.
They say
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go.
Me and Brigade leave a restaurant. We have a couple cocktails. We get in an accident and hit a car with a pregnant woman, and they both die.
Double homicide.
We get charged with a double homicide. So which one is it?
Yep.
Are you going to say it's just a blob of cells, or are you going to say it's a human? Because you can't put me and Brigade in jail for a double homicide if it's not a human. End of story.
And that's
It's
the
a
argument.
double standard.
That's the argument I always say. When I was in college, I would have this conversation, and of course, we're just talking about they come at your character and all that. Oh, so you don't believe a woman has a right to choose and this and that? You don't believe a woman has a right to do what she wants to do with her body and all that? And I used to always say, okay, if it's not a baby, then why is that if I killed you right now, if you were pregnant, it'd be ruled as a double homicide?
That's my point.
And it's always silent.
The church is silent. I will tell you why the church is silent. The church is silent because they're scared that if they offend someone who is 100% pro-choice, even up to partial birth abortion, which we all know is disgusting, but if you preach against it, you might lose 10% of your church, which is the wrong reason not to talk about it.
Yeah.
Do right and give the consequences to God, quote Pastor Bruce.
Sometimes people may say, well, when I address this, it's a painful subject. People get up and leave when they've had abortions. They don't want to be reminded of it. And I understand that. So we do have to be sensitive in its presentation.
Sure.
But if we don't speak out against this slaughtering of life, you notice today, because of science, they never discuss whether this is a child anymore.
No.
They really don't.
No.
It's my choice, my body. But it's really not your choice. It's just like, guess what? I can shoot my gun, but if I shoot you, now all of a sudden that's not
That's
my
what I'm saying. It's a
freedom.
double standard.
Yeah.
You can't say in one instance, it's your body, your choice, but if I kill you in a car accident, then I'm charged with double murder, but you're saying it's not a baby because you're only this many months. Well, let's talk about the states that let you do it up to full term, just because you changed your mind at the last minute. That's crazy. I'm not talking about, again,
Right.
I'm not talking about if the mother's going to die or the baby's going to die. I'm taking them all out of it because there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions a year across the world that are just because I don't want the baby.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Well, another aspect to look at it too, Uncle Mario, to feed it, what you were saying about the double homicide thing. I always notice this. When you have a kid, if the parents are together, and I learned this recently, you ever notice when parents get divorced, they're fighting for the custody
Of their child.
Mm-hmm. But you do realize that when parents are together, neither of them have custody. The state has custody of them. So we're going back to the concept of saying, "Oh, my body, my choice," or this is, it's not a baby, or this is my child, so I can decide whatever I want to do with it. If you want to speak about it from a government standpoint, you don't even have custody of
Okay.
it.
And then the other thing you hear is that, the church, you can't legislate morality. That's what I get all the time. When I fight this argument, I said, yeah, but the government legislates morality all the time.
Wait a second. If it's my body, my choice. Wait, my body, my choice. What if I choose to be a prostitute? That's illegal. My body, my choice. I want to do heroin. Heroin's illegal. My body, my choice. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. And no, you're right. It's just a weak, pathetic
And I'll tell
argument.
you where my heart breaks. My heart breaks for all the women that have had an abortion and regret it.
Yeah.
I meet
No,
them.
right.
I meet them
Yep.
organically every month in the salon. Someone will eventually somehow it comes up because I'm adopted or whatever, and my heart breaks for them. Like I don't know that I wish they realize they're forgiven. When their heart is right, and that they just can't forgive themselves usually.
That's a tough one to forgive yourself for. When you begin to realize the enormity of your sin. But the reality is, small or large, sin separates us from God,
which we all have.
So anyway, what do you hear? What do you hear in the shop, Brigade?
About what?
Abortion. I mean,
I don't
so
really hear much at all,
oh,
to be
really?
honest.
He's not behind She's at the desk running things.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
behind the chair. I don't know
Yeah,
what's
so
going
he's the one getting the personal conversations.
Gotcha.
People ask me my doctor all the time, and they start crying, and then that's how the word abortion will come up. And I always just gently place my hand on them, and I say, "Well, you're forgiven, right?" Like that's all. Because what else can you say? That I have a clients that name stars. You can buy a star, and they name a star to their unborn child that they terminated. They celebrate birthdays. They wonder what they would look like. It's a pain they live with for a life. My heart breaks for them.
Yeah,
But it's the propaganda that pushes it and lies to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad because there's so many of my clients that want to adopt kids that have to go to foreign countries, use all their savings. It's just sad.
Well, I often look at Eden, and I think, what would happen if her mom, who was a coke addict, decided, I'm just going to abort this child. Yeah, I'm thinking, how many Edens wouldn't be in the world today, blessing families like ours? If I give her mom credit, I mean, she very well could have.
Yeah.
But she didn't. She had enough, whatever, even though she had issues with drug addiction, she had enough sense to deliver the baby.
I mean, I was supposed to be an abortion, and they got here too late when they came over from Egypt. Back then, you couldn't have one as long as you could today. Had they come today, I would have been aborted.
Yeah.
Somebody said, where'd this topic come from? It came from Martin Luther King, a quote. There comes a time when silence is betrayal. Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yeah, and what happened was Sunday, when I left church, I thought when Rita spoke, I remember when she used to be able to go to churches all over this area. She can't get in anywhere anymore. They won't even let her talk.
That's why I love Abby Johnson. Abby Johnson won't care. She's strong. She's on the front line. She has done more good for humanity than a lot.
But I just thought to myself, we're going to lose all of our rights as believers. There's going to come a day when the church is going to be silenced. Because we're not fighting for it now. And that's the quote. When I saw that quote, it just...
That's why I got upset about
connected.
Easter. That's why I got upset about Easter. I understand that Easter is not the same day every year, and it fell on Transgender Day. But that doesn't mean you don't acknowledge Christians for their holiday. That's what bothered me the most.
Well, you look at it, like Ramadan just ended yesterday. And I'm not saying this in any way to offend Muslims or anything like that, but Ramadan had a lot of awareness this year.
Did you see all the shootings at the
And
Ramadan
you see that in Philly?
celebration?
Right.
I was horrified. Bad for the Muslims.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Ramadan had a lot of awareness.
Yeah, it was in the news everywhere.
Everywhere, every day. This is the 4th day of Ramadan, 5th day, 6th day. It got a lot of awareness.
We can't even speak
We
about
can't even
Easter
get one
for
day.
a minute, practically.
We could have 24 hours.
Yeah. Why is Jesus such a non-topic when he changed the whole world? And I always laugh about these people that say, these Christians. I'm thinking, who's left at the tsunamis? Who's left at these things? It's the Christian organizations.
The last time I spoke in church, you remember the Muslims wouldn't let the Christians celebrate Egypt, so they went to the top of the mountain in Indonesia to hide and celebrate Christmas, and that's when the tsunami came in, and the only ones that lived were the Christians that went up in the mountain. That's live on the internet. You can read that story. But it's the fact. Look, Ron said it the best. Somebody said, I go to a cult. And he said, well, if he goes to a cult, I go to a cult. And I'd love to invite you to church to get to know Jesus. Because if you think that's a cult, honey, you're missing out.
The point is, if we remain silent as Christians and don't speak up, if the church doesn't begin to teach our children as God commands, all of what we believe, all of our rights are going to be stripped from us because silence is betrayal in this instance.
I agree. Yes, it is.
And I think the other issue is same-sex marriage and transgendering. I mean, read Genesis 1:27.
Well, it says, and God created man to his own image. To the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them.
Read Genesis 5:2.
Genesis 5:2, he created them male and female, and he blessed them and named them man in the day when they were created.
Wow. So where is it in the Bible does it talk about marriage between man and a woman?
Well, marriage between a man and woman was instituted by God when he created Adam and Eve. And Genesis 2:24 states, therefore a man leaves his father and his mother and cleaves to his wife, and they become one flesh. And in Matthew 19:4...
Yeah, it doesn't say that a man leaves his father and mother, cleaves to another man.
Yeah.
It doesn't say a woman leaves her father and mother, cleaves to another woman, and they become one flesh. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And in Matthew 19:4-5, it says, Jesus reaffirms this. He answered, have you not read that he who made them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one. I
remember watching on TV the pastor of a Hillsong church in New York City, and they asked him, "So what's your thought on same-sex marriage?" It's when New Jersey legalized same-sex marriage, and New York had legalized same-sex marriage, and he said, "Well, Jesus doesn't address the issue, neither am I." And I was so upset. I wrote, and then I called. And I said, I don't understand why this was such a time as this, as Mordecai said to Esther, remember, and saving the Jews. And he had this moment on national TV when he could have said, this is what God says. This is our standard for living. And he didn't. And they said, well, we'll give this to him and he'll get back to you. He never got back to me. Never got back to me. And I thought, that's why we're where we are. Because the church stays silent. You know? So, I mean, I don't understand. Well, listen, I don't mean to be graphic. I don't understand why we fight the plumbing. Seriously. I mean, God did not make Adam and Steve. He didn't make Eve and Sophia. He made them male and female, and he told them to fill the earth. You know, 2 women without a male can't populate the earth. And 2 men without a female can't populate the earth. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. So the whole point here is that same-sex marriage is a sin, and God speaks out against it. But today, tragically, the earth remains silent. Oh, we can't say anything on this. And then when you do, oh my gracious, you get lambasted. They call you effing fools and like, where are you living back on the black and white TV? And are you this? Are you that? You know, and all he said was, hey, I'm just simply telling you what God says. He sets a standard.
So what about, I have a question. We had somebody here at the farm, a worker for a job, a one-time job that was needed. And this person looked like a big construction worker, cowboy, and he did something that nobody else could do on the farm. And I said, man, you are one hell of a cowboy. And he said, no, I'm not. I'm a they, or something to that point. And I said, well, are you transgender? Like, I don't want to offend you, like, you know. And he said, well, I'm not transgender, but I'm not a cow. I never worked on cows before, only horses, and I'm not a boy. And then an hour later, it came out that he was a cross-dresser. But he started crying. Brigade witness that he was crying, and he pretty much told me he didn't want to live anymore. And he couldn't get out of this. He just didn't.
Yeah.
He couldn't. And we've been reaching out to him every other day, making sure he's okay. Just met him this week. So my question to you is, the people that are in that situation,
right,
that they can't in their mind or heart feel the way God intended them to be. Right. What are they to do?
Well, I'm going to say, and I could be wrong here, but I'm going to say it's demonic. Because we're deceived into believing we are who we're not. God made us to be.
Right. Who
God made us. We're deceived to think that I'm a male, but I'll never be attracted to a female. And if that's the case and you can get past that, I can live with that. But it doesn't give you the right to have homosexual sex.
But he didn't think that way. He had a wife.
Yes.
And he just liked girlier clothes.
Right.
And makeup too.
And let's...
Like, he still liked girls. He
right.
just dressed like...
All right.
In female attire with a little makeup.
We all...
So what is that?
No, I do think there's certain DNA proclivities. Right? And I'm just going... I do. I'm just saying, some people are a little more effeminate than others. Some people are a little girlish than others. Some people like fancy and frivolous things and frivolly things, and others don't. But it's just like, listen, I know people who took their first drink and they loved it. And they had a propensity towards alcohol. And then I know people who take a drink and they don't like it at all. So we do have proclivities, but that doesn't mean that proclivity allows us to do wrong.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I can drink, but I'm not allowed to get drunk. That's the difference. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Listen, I could say I have a proclivity towards women and have like 20 women in my life and I'm having sex with all of them. Does that make it right? Just because I have a proclivity towards it? You know what I mean? No. But I'm saying God puts boundaries on everything.
Right.
Even
Yes,
love
absolutely.
has boundaries. The ocean has boundaries. The sky has boundaries. The planets have boundaries. Love has a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
But I have something to say about
Yeah.
the dressing like a woman.
She met this person
How
too.
about growing up, girls were tomboys and they were sporty? That didn't make them...
My mom said that. My mom said I played baseball better than any boy in Pittman. It didn't make me a transgender. It made me a tomboy.
I was gonna say,
That's
'cause,
what
like,
my mom
'cause
said.
Jada-
It's funny you said that.
Jada was like growing up. Jada was one of the guys. Like she was like a tomboy growing up. So like she would go outside and play football.
She still is a
That was
tomboy.
normal.
I'm just kidding.
Listen, I don't fight that battle. Thank God I don't have
Rhonda.
to. But can I say we all have battles we fight.
For sure.
And we have to determine whether or not we're going to follow God's boundaries because they protect us. Every boundary God says, it's just like the law. Let's be honest.
I do believe
the
the
law
boundaries.
protects you. If it says stop at a stoplight, there's a reason why it says stop at a stoplight. You
Right.
go through it, you may not live tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, God set boundaries. We call it the 10 Commandments, or just sum them up in the 2 Great Commandments. And those commandments are given to us to live by and practice. And when we do, we preserve life, we demonstrate love, and the world's a better place. These poor kids that are being introduced to transgenderism in elementary school, they're going to be screwed up for the rest of their life. I'm sorry.
You see it on TV. These young kids that went through the surgeries and they hate themselves. They're committing suicide. My heart breaks for them.
Yeah.
So someone asked me when I was in college. Someone asked me.
You're
that-
out of your picture. Do you know that?
Oh, that's fine as long as I'm in this one.
Okay. Well,
Someone asked me years ago, like, well, pertaining to Christians, well, why do you guys get so offended when kids learn about it and different things like that? And I said, because here's the fact of the matter. And I kept it very neutral. I said, even if it's a straight understanding or whatever, that's something that they learn as they get older. Maybe
not
teenagers.
mature
They're
enough
not
to
mature
know.
enough. And I said, it's not even about homosexuality or transgenderism. It's about sexuality, period. You don't learn about that until you get older and you understand.
And your
it.
parent had to write a permission slip for you to learn about it.
Yeah.
And you had to
So,
be
like,
mature enough.
for example, PB, one of the examples that I use is, what's the show? Was it I Love Lucy?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They slept in separate beds.
Everybody did
Oh,
back
they
then.
did back then.
Cheryl Teets is watching. I bet her and her husband sleep in a separate bed. Just kidding.
But why is that? We laugh about that, but why is that so enriching? Was because that was a family program,
My
and
grandparents.
that wasn't.
Your grandparents
addressed.
slept in separate beds. So did mine.
My grandparents slept in separate
when you
beds.
get older, you sleep in separate beds because you can't sleep with the other person because they keep you awake. They're rolling around and they're complaining about the aches and the pains and everything else. When you're young, you sleep on top of one another. When you get older, you sleep in separate beds.
Oh my God! Hey, there's a time. What about there's a time to be silent? Martin Luther
Sorry.
King.
But here's something that's so deep. So when they ask me, like, well, why is it so detrimental? Why is it so detrimental for kids to learn about it? I said, because it's not something that their minds can handle.
That's right.
And I said, one thing about kids, and I know this, I'm in youth ministry, kids gravitate towards something that is not the normal. They gravitate towards something that is the trend, right? So perfect example, PB, I did a, last year, I did it was a winter formal for a middle school.
Right.
And there's a popular song called "Shut Up and Dance with Me" that comes on. It's a very popular kids song. And one something I've been doing since I've been in the entertainment industry, whenever that song comes on, I split up the girls and the guys. I put the girls on one side and I put the boys on one side, and I had them battle it out. So whoever can sing the song the loudest. So I did that, and I had a group of kids. This is middle school. This is like 6th through 8th grade. Come up to me and say, "Hey, where do non-binary students go?" This is why they don't need to learn about this, because they don't even know what they're saying.
Well, listen, I'll tell you a great illustration of this. You don't ask a 7-year-old kid to pick up a 75-pound suitcase and carry it. Because they can't.
Because they can't.
And we can't and when you introduce us, I saw these stats the other day on this whole thing. And it said, by the time you're 29 years of age, when they did a survey, only 3% of everybody surveyed at the age of 29 would change their sex.
I can't
But
believe a 6th
if
grader
you
asked that.
ask them when they're 5 or 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade, there could be 73% that may think about, well, yeah, maybe I'd rather be a girl or a guy.
There's also been studies that
There's
have
a
shown,
level of maturity that before these things are introduced.
Yeah, and there's also studies that have been shown that when people do it, they regret it later on in life.
That's what I was talking about.
Big time.
Yeah. Because their bodies are so negatively altered, it's not natural. They're like suffering.
Dysmorphia.
So let's
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
And closing out. So we've said 2 areas that the church needs to not be silent on, needs to speak up. One is abortion, and the other is homosexuality, transgenderism, and same-sex marriage. So what I get all the time, Martin and Samaj Brigade, is, the Bible doesn't say anything about that in the New Testament. That's what I hear. So, Martin, I want you to read Romans 1. This is so powerful, and they say the Bible doesn't address it. Let's see if the Bible addresses it.
The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness, I was going to say godlessness and wickedness of people who suppress their truth by their wickedness.
Ooh, you even spoke about that. You said when people complain, just say it's just the truth.
Yeah.
Why are you addressing this? Because it's the truth.
Because it's the truth.
Yeah. But
So-
look, they suppress the truth by their wickedness.
So do most people today.
Oh,
Since what we may be known about, God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood for what has been made, so that people are without excuse. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relationships for unnatural ones.
now isn't it interesting? Even their women, because men are lust-driven. Mm-hmm. So if they're deceived thinking that they love a man, that's lust-driven. Mm-hmm. Women, it's not that case. Women are emotionally attached.
Right.
So, but it says even their women exchanged.
In the same way, men also abandoned natural relationships with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error.
I wonder if that's not AIDS and all the sexual diseases that are associated with homosexuality.
Although they know God's righteousness decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these things, but also approve of those who practice them.
Yeah, and I'm going to say in Corinthians chapter 6, the apostle says, and such were some of you. Thank God that Jesus does for us what we can't do it for ourselves. There's some people who may never, ever conquer.
But we have had
A
people
sin.
in the church that were
Oh, yeah.
homosexual that left that lifestyle.
Yeah, and there are others who fight with it their whole life. And it's just like somebody may fight with alcoholism or some other addiction, or they may fight with sexual immorality on the heterosexual side, or they may fight with it on the homosexual side. But if you have trusted Christ, then you are forgiven. And I think the evidence that you have entrusted Christ is that you make an effort to please him even if you fail.
Yes, and
Right?
I think the church needs to speak the truth, and the church needs to love the sinner regardless of the sin.
Yeah.
That's
Now-
the biggest fault.
Yep,
The church
and I will
needs
say that.
to accept and love the sinner
Yes.
and pray with them.
Because
and
I'll say
guide
this
them.
right now, as a youth pastor, when I see teenagers come in, because they're the most vulnerable to these
Yeah.
topics here. When I see a teenager come in, they say, I may be gay or whatever, but you make me experience the love of Jesus.
Yeah,
That's heartwarming.
right.
But once we show them that love, now we have to begin to counsel them out of that sin.
100%.
Yeah. Listen,
It's no different than somebody hooked on heroin.
Or
No,
whatever.
it's not.
Yeah.
right.
It's not. And here's something else too that we have to understand. And it's crazy, John Cage.
Though I am going to say there is a difference, and I don't mean this to be derogatory in any way, but heroin is a natural. It makes you feel high. The opposite sex, homosexuality, is an unnatural sin.
But what if to that person it's a euphoric high?
It's still an unnatural sin. But it all comes back. Does that make sense, Brigade? In other words, if I'm a man, and I'm attracted to a woman, and she's not my wife, that's sin, right? But it's a natural sin. If I'm attracted to a man, that's an unnatural sin. That's not natural.
That's
Plumbing
my
tells you
first.
it's not
but
natural.
My first question to you is: what about the ones that are 5 years old and only want to wear dresses? It happens.
Yeah, and all I can say is I don't understand that chemical imbalance or whatever, the demon of oppression that deceives them, because let's face it, all sin is deception.
Yeah,
From
definitely.
That's true.
From the Garden of Eden to whoever, it's deception. I look at what the America accepts today, the populace, and I go, 50 years ago, nobody would have accepted
Did you
that.
see the Pope finally spoke against it?
Thank God. Oh, my gracious. I was about to give
that was
up on this.
wild.
Pope.
I had somebody on my Facebook copy the link and say this is a shame. I used to love to go to my church and now I will not go.
finally.
No,
I know, but I'm saying finally this Pope
He
spoke
did.
out.
He spoke up. Yeah.
You know, and what he said was like I usually don't care for what this Pope says. I'm just being honest. He seems on the left on everything, but this was one place where he nailed it, and I love the reasons why. He stated that the church couldn't accept transgenderism.
Yeah.
I mean, it slaps God in the face. It says God made a mistake. It says, you know, forget filling the earth as God commanded.
Sure,
us to do.
if everybody was transgender, there'd be no babies. But I have a different, I guess, heart towards it after meeting this person last week.
And I think we should.
Yeah, I feel horrible.
Listen, I have a love. We have people in the church, you know that, and they've been in homosexual relationships for years, and they come to the church and they're accepted and they're loved. And I'm not going to judge them. They're going to have to answer to God. I only know what God says. Just like God says to me, I can't have a person. I can't love somebody other than my wife.
Right, right.
And you know what? And if I do, I trust God forgives me if I fail in some way, or any of us. So I'm not going to be condemning. I only know what God says, and I know He set these standards because He loves us. That's what I know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Yeah.
that's the bottom line. Any final thoughts? Do we have any final thoughts? Actually, people are watching. Let me see what we got.
I think people are Hollywood beds. That's what they used to do. Separate beds.
yeah. You're old.
Oh my God.
Wait, Cheryl said you got that right. That's funny. I think people are probably afraid. Not afraid, but
Yeah, I understand.
you know, it puts them in an awkward place. It puts them up to be bullied by trolls.
Yeah.
You know, if you comment something that someone doesn't believe in.
So, do you have Brigade? Do you have a final thought on our subject? We'll come back to you. Do you?
Yeah.
Simon?
No, I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. We're just getting down to, what's going on in our country.
Look, I don't want to get off topic, but there are a whole world on the internet of men who have sexual relationships with animals. You know that, right?
Yeah, beastology.
But
Bestiality.
it's huge because, like you said, men are just lustful. Whatever they can do to just tickle their fancy, as my mother would say, it's crazy.
And and you know what? It's an interesting thing, but that's the difference between. Should be a subject one day. The difference between a good lover and a bad lover. A good lover loves for what they can get. A bad lover. A good lover loves for what they can give.
Right.
So if a person, like when they say, "Oh, we have a horrible sexual relationship," I'm thinking, well, that's probably because the guy's all about himself and he's not about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What does Jesus say? Love your neighbor as yourself. That's the second great commandment.
And you want to how to love your wife? Read Song of Solomon.
Yeah, that's true. But put her first in the lovemaking, and guess what? She'll be where she needs to be, and you'll be where you need to be.
And the church said,
"Amen." And Samaj, come on, Samaj. So anyway,
he ain't married. You can't talk about it.
This whole subject all came about because Martin Luther King Jr.,
Yes.
and that's why they took him out, because he spoke truth, said there comes a time when silence is betrayal. And we need to speak up on our national sins. That's what this is about. That the government now legislates and approves. Bottom line. So, let's roll.
Well, hey, listen, remember to share if you have any questions, even if they're private. You don't want to put them out on the feed. You can just put them in a message. I'll get them to Pastor Bruce. If you'd like a copy of today's transcript, put it in the message, and Gianna will make sure, or Pastor Bruce, that you get it. What else?
Pastor Blake.
What's Pastor Blake's message?
By the way,
weekend?
we did a funeral today for a young kid, brilliant kid. I mean, this lady worked for, was it J.P. Morgan?
Yeah, you said that, JP.
Yeah, for 30 years. She said he was the most brilliant student she ever had. She couldn't believe. She said, I even wouldn't go to a meeting without him there. That's how bright he was. She's just had these incredible sights into finances. But, he passed. He had first pancreatic cancer, and then he had Ewing
Sarcoma.
Wow.
And he died at 22.
And
But I have to tell you, Pastor Blake did the homily, and he was brilliant today. Did such a marvelous. I was so pleased. I want to say proud, but you know what I mean. With what he did, it was just brilliant. And he's speaking this Sunday on Thirsty
souls.
Well, that's all of us.
Thirsty souls.
Right? We're all thirsty souls. So with that being said, 1, 2, 3.
Live for Jesus, and even a bad day will be a good day.
Get off me.
Love you guys.
Somebody hit finish.
You hit